Good morning, men, and welcome to April. You might notice that this video's runtime is shorter than normal and a few days late. Sorry about the delay, and don't worry, we did have a productive month, but due to some in-real-life events eating up my free time, I've decided to make these videos shorter for the time being. Any feedback about this new style of video, I would really appreciate, so give any feedback down in the comments. Before we get into this month and where we left off at, I'd like to remind everyone that we recently launched a new Discord server to help those getting into the TF2 trading. I recently added my own TF2 calculator for free to help those looking to find profit margins very quickly. I also want to remind everyone, or inform those who haven't seen previous videos before, that I plan on doing a giveaway once we hit 1,000 subs. It will most likely be some keys that are given away, but once we hit 950 subs, I'll open a poll in our Discord to see what people would want. With that out of the way, I'll quickly run through what I'm going into April with. We have 2 Rare Shine Crooks caps, a Disco Beatdown Detective Noir, a Phosphorous Broadband Bonnet, a Cloud9 Bumble Beanie, a Cuban Smoke Vaudeville Visor, a Tesla Coil Powdered Practitioner, a Tainted Frost Chilled Chulu, a Miami Nights Thirst Blood, a Disco Beatdown Nightcap, a Disco Beatdown Stainless Pot, 2 Bone Zone LLL Fedoras, a Circling Peace Sign Mean Captain, Uberblaze Tribal Gent, a Crystal Crown Alpha Scheme, a Halcyon Halo Polar Charger, a Playful Aurora Hot Spaniel, a Halcyon Halo Crimbo Cap, 2 Halcyon Halo Dapper Noels, 3 Shining Bouquet Crimbo Caps, a Sizzling Polar Charger, a Halcyon Halo Hot Spaniel, a Ghost of Smithmas Time Dapper Noel, a Crystal Crown Hot Spaniel, a Frisky Morning Hot Spaniel, a Ghost of Smithmas Time Polar Charger, a Nightmarish Storm Thunderdome, a Searing Stove Witch Doctor, a Disco Beatdown Hot Spaniel, a Kilowatt Crimbo Cap, a Cloud9 Crimbo Cap, a Iridescent Wild Brim Slouch, an Aurora Skies Hot Spaniel, and an Uberblaze Fleet Commander. 38 hats in total for sale. Let's see how the trades went. The first 2 hats we picked up this month were 2 Shining Bouquet Crimbo Caps. We bought them for 16 keys and 15 keys respectively. Both were picked up to control the Crimbo Cap market on Marketplace. Since these sell fairly often for 20 keys on there, it's worth the investment. The third hat we picked up was a Bone Zone Head Hedge for 15 keys and 51.66 ref. Recent sales on Marketplace for around 24 keys before tax. No other sellers with a nice effect on a multi-class hat made me want to pick it up. Our first sale of the month came from a Cloud9 Crimbo Cap, which we bought for 16 keys and sold for 22 keys. Profit of 6 keys, or a profit margin of 37.50%, taking only 12 days to sell. Our second sale of April was our Phosphorous Broadband Bonnet. We sold it to Shay, who previously bought our Butterfly Season Tropical Brim last month, for a price of 65 keys. We bought that back in January for 55 keys and 44.55 ref, so we earned a profit of 9 keys and 19.55 ref, or a margin of 16.72%. Our next sale was from an auction. We placed our Rare Shine Crooks Cap, specifically the one we bought for 19 keys and 44.66 ref, and sold it for 20 keys even. A small profit of 22.66 ref, or a margin of 1.83%, but with how slowly these have been moving, liquidating one of these was a big win for us. On the 11th, we picked up a Searing Stove Tribal Gent for 19 keys and 16.11 ref. Searing Stove has been selling very well on multiple hats, and this had recent sales to justify buying it. Marketplace has been selling these for around $70 or 33 keys after tax. It's hard to resist that kind of margin. Speaking of Searing Stove, and it's selling well, we managed to sell our Witch Doctor with Searing Stove in just 21 days for 18 keys. We picked it up for 13 keys and 52.33 ref, earning us a profit of 4 keys and 27.33 ref, or a margin of 30.90%. Crazy good for an ugly meta cat. Goes to show that great effects still sell well on worse hats. So we doubled down on that idea and bought a Manhattan Protect with Searing Stove for 9 keys and 70.11 ref. Recent sales on Marketplace justify this price point, and as mentioned, Searing Stove can carry poor performing hats to a sale. Not from a lack of trying, but our buys slowed down during this midpoint of the month. Nothing very profitable on the market every time I checked when able to. I did, however, buy 2 inventories to bulk up my Marketplace shelf. Nothing really to note from these inventories except some strange Pro Kill Streak weapons, and 2 strange Pro Kill Streak Blue Gem McCall weapons, a Loose Cannon and an Iron Bomber. Both are field tested and may not yield the biggest returns, however I'll make my money back on the other items from those inventories. Our next sale was our Aurora Skies Hot Spaniel. We picked that up for 29 keys and 12.66 ref and sold it for 33 keys, a profit of 3 keys and 56.33 ref, or a margin of 13.09%. We had this listed higher on Marketplace, but were undercut by another seller. Right after I price matched them, ours sold. We could have made more profit on this, but with it being over a 10% margin, I'm okay with it. We then sold another Hot Spaniel, this time with Crystal Crown. We sold it for 29 keys after picking it up for 27 keys and 36.22 ref, a profit of 1 key and 34.7 5.77 ref, or a margin of 5.45%. Similar to Aurora Skies, we were still undercut on this hat and lost a better margin due to that, but Crystal Crown and Halcyon Halo seem to be falling out of favor recently. Thankfully, we still made profit on this one. The next hat to sell was an Uberblazed Tribal Gent. We picked it up for 16 keys and 66.22 ref, and sold it for 18 keys and 32.33 ref. A profit of 1 key and 35.22 ref, or a margin of 8.90%. A few other sellers on Marketplace with this one. Glad we were able to pull a profit on it. One of our last remaining January hats managed to sell. Our Cloud9 Bumble Beanie we picked up for 60 keys, sold for 71 keys. An 11 key profit, or a margin of 18.33%. I'm sure I could have listed this for a higher margin, but with how high key prices have gotten, I think the buyer paid a fair price for this. With the recent success of Searing Stove Unusuals, I went and picked up a few more. First, we snagged a Berlin Brain Bowl with Searing Stove for 39 keys and 22.55 ref. Marketplace had 2 sales for $150, which would be around 70 keys. With no other sellers, hopefully it can sell for that price. We also picked up a Searing Stove Nightcap for 17 keys and 42.88 ref. The Nightcap has done well for me in the past, along with Searing Stove. There doesn't seem to be many of these in existence. I'm sure this could get at least 20 keys. On the 20th, our Disco Beatdown Stainless Pot sold for 62 keys. We picked that up for 51 keys and 14.44 ref. I was worried about this hat as another one appeared on STN for 55 keys and climbed down to 53 before someone bought it. I haven't seen that other one on the market, but if they were only listing on Backpack, Marketplace remained clear. The next day, I was added by someone looking to buy our Tainted Frost Chill Chulu. We bought that for 31 keys and 28.88 ref, and sold it for 36 keys and 5 ref. A profit of 5 keys and 51.22 ref, or a margin of 14.91%. This was our 101st hat, and it feels like we've had it way longer than the 73 days it was listed. Going back to new effects, our Sizzling Color Charger sold on Marketplace for 38 keys. We bought that for 28 keys, giving us a profit of 10 keys and a margin of 35.71%. I did have my doubts about Sizzling, but a few members from SP Bacon's Academy told me I was sleeping on it and I should give it a try, and I'm glad I did. Surprisingly, our Pyroland Nightmare Hollowed Helm sold for full price of 19 keys. These crashed on Backpack and are listed for around 12 to 14 keys currently. I bought this for 13 keys and 54.44 ref back in February due to recent sales, but those sales peaked around October. Buying it almost as far away from spooky season as I could, this could either be taken as a risk or an investment that paid off with a 38.48% profit margin. And with rise comes a fall, and we lost profit on a hat. Those that are regulars in my Discord or my stream joke about my affection towards the Crimbo Cap and the profit it's made me. Unfortunately, my Halcyon Halo Crimbo Cap was undercut on Marketplace, to which I mindlessly price matched it, not realizing it was now less than what I paid for. We bought it for 23 keys and 34 ref, and sold it for 22 keys, a loss of 1 key and 41 ref, or a negative profit margin of 6.56%. Not our worst loss, and with how rough the Halcyon Halo market has gotten, this could have been worse. And with all comes a rise. We managed to break our personal best profit margin with a hat we bought off of auctions. Our Stormy Storm Hot Spaniel that we bought for 11 keys sold for 20 keys, a 9 key profit and a margin of 81.81%. There was only one sale to justify this buy, and that was around 18 keys, but that would have been an insane margin still. Selling this for full price in under a month was a huge hit for us. We then picked up a Cloud9 Nightcap. There are a few recent sales to justify us buying this for 17 keys and 42.88 ref. We now have around 4 of these listed for sale. I know it's kind of hypocritical to say that when I have so many Crimbo Caps listed for sale, but hey, it's what we do. Our Searing Stove Fleet Commander sold for 36 keys. We bought that for 30 keys and 0.55 ref, giving us a profit of 5 keys and 74.44 ref, or a margin of 20%. Honestly, I really like the Fleet Commander, and Searing Stove has done well for me at this point. I'll be looking out for either of these moving forward. In a close second for my personal best profit margin, our Searing Stove Berlin Brain Bowl sold for 71 keys. We bought that for 39 keys and 22.55 ref, leaving us with 32 keys and 55.55 ref profit, or a margin of 80.76%. This took only 7 days to sell and was a really lucky pickup from STN. At this point in the month, I had close to 500 keys pure on hand. I usually try to be picky about what hats I pick up, but with how busy I am in real life, I won't be able to actively look them multiple times a day for a great deal. Instead, we went with some hats with okay margins and ones that seem like decent investments. With the success of the first Berlin Brain Bowl, I picked up a Shrieking Shades one for 54 keys and 33.22 ref. Only one sale on Marketplace to justify this price point, but there doesn't seem to be many of these in existence. We then picked up another Searing Stove Tribal Gent for 18 keys and 65.11 ref. Sellers on Marketplace are asking for 70, and it's getting sales around this price point. I already have one listed, but another one won't hurt as these seem to be selling fine. We picked up a Spectral Fire Fleet Commander for 38 keys and 23.22 ref. A few sellers on Marketplace asking for $100, and it does have sales to justify this price point. With the competition it has currently, it may take longer to sell, but it's a nice hat and a nice effect, so I'm not going to stress about it. One of the riskier hats I picked up was a Frosty Flavors hat to kill for. We bought it for 57 keys. There are no sales on Marketplace, but its sister effect has done well and has gotten over this price point, so it might be worth the investment. And bought not one, but 3 Searing Stove Fleet Commanders, one for 30 keys, and the 2 others for 31 keys and 58.88 ref. These have sold out on Marketplace rather quickly in the last month, and I wanted to capitalize on an empty market with a hat that clearly sells for a decent profit. Taking a break from our spending spree, our Iridescence Wild Brim Slouch sold for 20 keys. We got this in a mixed deal for our previous Searing Stove Fleet Commander, along with a Pro Killstreak Shooting Star, Professional Killstreak Upper Hand, and a Specialized Killstreak Strange Tomislav. The suites earned us 22.5 keys, so with the 20 keys we got from the Wild Brim Slouch, we got a total of 42 keys and 37.44 ref. Now that means our original Fleet Commander that we bought for 30 keys and 26.55 ref has earned us a profit of 12 keys and 11.44 ref, or a margin of 40.03%. If we subtract the suites from the original buy price of 30 keys and 26.55 ref, that would leave us with 7 keys and 63.77 ref. We can consider that our buy price for the Iridescence Wild Brim Slouch, getting us a profit of 12 keys and 11.22 ref, or a profit margin of 154.77%. This is by far our biggest margin, only possible due to the suites. Now to continue our spending spree, we bought a Terawatt Fleet Commander for 18 keys and 53.44 ref. This doesn't have any sales to justify the price point, but with how well these other effects have been doing, and with a clear market, I'm comfortable with this purchase. We then bought a Mountain Halo Firestalker for 11 keys and 2 ref. These have great marketplace sales around 20 keys, and it's a clear market. However, backpack sellers are looking for slightly higher than what I paid for, so that could prove problematic, but it was only 11 keys, so we can eat that if we have to. Another risky buy was a Sizzling Caribou Companion. We picked up for 22 keys and 70.22 ref. No sales to justify it, but other worse effects are asking for around $70 on Marketplace, so I'm hopeful this could get higher than those effects. Next, we bought a Haunted Ghost Crimbo Cap for 13 keys and 65.22 ref. To be honest, if I didn't have so much Pure on hand, I probably would have passed on this, but with how well the Crimbo Cap has been doing with other Gen 1 to 3 effects, in hopes that it will sell. Speaking of Crimbo Caps, our last sale for the month happened to be one of our Shining Bouquet Crimbo Caps. We sold it for 20 keys after buying it for 14 keys and 30 ref, a profit of 5 keys and 45 ref, and a margin of 38.88%. How poetic that the first hat we bought and sold this month was a Shining Bouquet Crimbo Cap, proving its worth as a pseudo mascot for this trading series. We then bought a Shining Bouquet Hot Spaniel for 14 keys and 4.44 ref. One other seller on Marketplace, but it has constant sales for 20 keys there, so I figured why not pick it up and list it there for that amount. We then bought a Witch Doctor with Uber Blaze for 12 keys and 16.66 ref. I'm really not a huge fan of this hat, but it does seem to sell well. I'd still be very careful about buying any more of these in the future, but with how cheap it was, any small amount of keys will lead to a huge profit margin. And finally, the last hat we bought this month was a Searing Stove Strikeout for 10 keys and 16 ref. This hat has a few sales to justify it on Marketplace, but if it underperforms, we still bought it for so cheap it wouldn't really hurt us. And with that comes the end of April. Let's quickly recap this month and see how we did. We bought 22 hats and sold 18 of them, 17 for profit. We broke our personal best for profit margins twice this month with a new PB of 154.77%. Our total earnings for this month are 134 keys and 67.77 ref. I wasn't very active this month, but I'm still glad we got over 100 keys. I most likely will still be busy throughout May, so a similar style video will likely be produced. If you have any feedback at all about the style versus the previous videos, please let me know. Again, I'll be doing a giveaway at 1,000 subs. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in May.